Hello, I'm here on this riverbed together with Jayantha Wijesinghe from Rainforest Protectors, and we have spent the last 2 days near the Anuradhapura area, visiting many families and visiting a lot of the rivers and the lakes in the area to see the situation and what has happened. So the whole area is in severe drought, and it's 17 out of the 25 districts are in drought in Sri Lanka, and these areas are some of the worst hit. So over the last 2 years they have not received any rain, and as a result people can't farm, farmers don't have work, and as a result they don't have income, and they can't feed their families, and they've come to a very, very difficult time in their lives where they really are unable to eat or drink or find any work, because the entire area is in the same situation. So Jayantha, now this has been progressing for 2 years. What has happened? Why is this sudden change? What are the reasons behind this drastic change?
The reason being twofold in my opinion. One thing is that the local, the problems in the area itself, and the second problem is as a country, we don't look at our water sources and where we get water serious enough. For instance, the rain that we have and the forest and the mountains that give us the rain, we don't protect them, and therefore the rain fall has decreased, and it is at a decreasing pattern for the last 5-6 years or the last 10 years if we look at. So the loss of forest cover and loss of forest in the mountains is directly adding to this problem. And secondly, we don't have proper systems to store water and protect the amount of water we have. For instance, the rivers, the streams and the waterfalls that were flowing so well, and those water that we've used in our agriculture, especially this hydraulic civilization we had in this area historically, and that we are not maintaining properly. We don't actually need to dredge new canals or to have new irrigation systems. If you look at the irrigation system in this area, if you really look at improving the existing irrigation system, that would be sufficient for the people to cultivate the amount of paddy lands and the other cultivations that they do traditionally here. And talking about the reducing rainfall is a result of the climate change, the local climate change. It's not directly relating to the international climate change, it is the local climate change, and we have added to that by cutting down the forest that we had, especially for instance if you take the forest around this area, for instance Vilpattu, is contributing a lot to these irrigation systems and the water flowing through this area.
So we are on the border of Vilpattu, actually, the other side of
Correct, yes, the Malwatu Oya, the Kala Oya and all that. These water, even the small streams that we passed, most of them that have dried up, is not simply because there is not sufficient water or anything like that. They can't anymore flow the way they used to flow, because they had enough tree covers, the forest covers and other wetlands that supported the irrigation system, the streams and the wells, and as well as the ponds, the tanks, everything. But when you look at the destruction and the reducing forest cover and the reducing amount of wetlands and the amount these the tanks has filled with all these things, yes. So that even some of the tanks that we inspected, we saw have about 15 feet water that has receded during this drought season alone, and that would mean so much of tens of thousands of cubic meters or square feet of water. So altogether we are adding to this problem by various means, not protecting the forests and the streams and its reservation areas. For instance, all these streams and rivers have its own reservations that keep water flowing and stores water. And when you specially sand mine on these rivers, the water doesn't flow anymore. It gets stagnated and the water goes down beneath. So these are the problems, and therefore the families are facing a huge problem.
And also the animals also.
Animals, yes.
Yeah. In ancient times there was a law where you wouldn't touch the forests on the top of the mountains,
Yes.
and the catchments which is how we get the water.
Very important.
But of course that is not happening now, and it is that rain that used to fill the network of
Tanks
and
reservoirs
rivers
yes.
around.
And that's very important, that ancient kings, not because they didn't have the technology or not because they didn't know or they couldn't do that, they never built up reservoirs in hilltops or the central hills. And what they did is all the rain that comes from the hills falls to the central hills. Those water comes through main rivers that we have. We have more than 100 main rivers in the country flowing into the ocean, and those rivers they ensured in the lowland areas they build up good reservoirs and good catchments, good water bodies, so that the water will be stored. But if you look at the recent rains that we had, intense rains, sometimes more than 500 millimeters, all this water flowing down to the river without any of it, or probably 90% of it is not used. And we know the great king Parakrama Bahu he said that not a single drop of water that falls as rain, that he let that pass to he let that go to the sea without unutilized. So that's a great concept, and that is why we have so much of tanks here, and we call it the Vaubandi Rajya. We were talking to a farmer yesterday. He said if the tank can be even 5 feet, digging of that tank in Vilachia could support an additional Kannaya. So those are the little things that would help these farmers in time to come, because we expect the El Nino conditions to get worsened. Therefore 2018, 2019 and 2020 going to be even more harder, more and more less rain, more drought, severe drought during a long period of time. So we need to get ready.
And I think we are not seeing, I think we all need to get together and see the actual situation around us. I think some of us are all, as long as it doesn't affect us, we don't see what's happening, but it is going to spread, and it has been spreading rapidly over the last 2 years.
This rainfall pattern that we have changed, it's a change that it's a man-made change, and we are the only people who can restore it back, or at least try and restore a little restore a little bit of what we had in the past. For instance, if we can maintain, now this is something that we need to be aware of, if we can maintain at least 30% of a true forest cover. We have various figures coming, we know for a fact that we don't have more than 17 to 18% of forest. So if we can maintain at least 30% of a good forest cover, that will add to this rainfall. And if we can also ensure that these reservoirs are properly managed, and if we can ensure that river buffer zones and the stream buffer zones and the wetlands are properly protected, and the ones that they are the ones that gives us water, stores water, and ultimately those are the sources we source water from. So these need to be protected. The forest cover, especially the forests around this area. Now for instance, Vilpattu or any other forest close by Ritigala, for instance, Ritigala, there is a big size of a river that's flowing from Ritigala, which adds water to the tanks in this area. So Ritigala is another important area, but the environment degradation in these critical environmental systems, forests, ecosystems, contributing, adding to the less rainfall and the more heating of the atmosphere, therefore more evaporation. So only we can ensure that we can restore this environment, and we will have the normal environmental and the normal rain patterns and the normal water bodies that we had stays as it is, so that the people can survive.
So I think the time is now for us to understand the actual situation of what's happening in our country. The time is now for us each one of us to act individually, and the time is now to make it for each one of us to change, to make a difference for a better tomorrow.